Okay, in this video we're just going to take a look at a few different entryway examples to give you some ideas and inspire you what you can do for this assignment. So this first entryway is a great example of like a bank vault or a vault door. So here you can see the interaction off to the side over here is this red button. So I can walk up to the button and press E to interact. You see that the handle rotates open first and then the door swings open. So you can see there's multiple animated pieces. The student also had some lights animating and that were toggled on and off when you open and close the door. So now on the inside I can interact. It plays a second sound effect, the door closes, and then from the inside you can see those locking mechanisms that slide out in place. So this is a great example of having multiple animated pieces on one animation. So on the inside you see all the lights turn on and off and they'll animate on in different points. That's also a good reiteration of that it doesn't matter what you're animating, if it's a mesh or a camera or a light, you're just animating the properties of that game object or of that component. All right. All right, this next one is a good example of a more traditional door, not overly complicated, but a good use of an animation event. So you can see he had a second sound effect play when the door slams down and hits the ground. And now this door on the right-hand side is still able to interact and open and close. So we had like a kick down the door state, and then it went into that cycle of that four state loop. So I'm able to open and close the door. All right. Next one. Definitely a lot of good things about this next one I really like. Okay, so I walk up to the door and here I've got the handle, so just interact with the handle. You can say I can open up each door independently. Okay, and when I walk through, I can come to the handle of the handle itself and close the door. No, I lied. I can come over to this chain right here and close this door. And this is a really great example to showcase the frame of the door itself, right? So the frame is not this wall, right? This is the actual wall that you would attach the frame to. So if we're thinking about how this half oval shape or quarter of an oval shaped door would actually open, we want to think about how that would actually hinge and be attached to a wall. So here you can see you can break it down into just simple geometry. We have a cube at the top, a cube in the middle, and a cube at the bottom. And then one running vertically to connect them all. And then over on the right-hand side we have just some cylinders with a longer cylinder in between, and then some cubes attaching it to the wall, almost like a small hinge or a plate. All right, so that's just a great example of using some simple geometry to create a really nice and detailed frame for the object. Right? What we want to avoid is just using a small cylinder or something to connect the door to the wall. Think about how this would actually be attached and how it would work. And also this chain over here is a great example of a creative interaction point. right? You could go even further with it and have the chain move down when the player interacts, but that would be, even further above and beyond. This is by far a great example as is right now. So you can see the different sound effects. For open and close. All right. So if you have any games that inspire you, anything fan-made that you really like, feel free to use that as inspiration. This one was from Fallout, and the student did a great job at recreating this and looking at the details and noticing the frame pieces and how he translated that over to his door over here. So this is a really, really good example of utilizing reference to make something realistic and believable. So now I can walk up here, and we have this button right here is the interaction point. The sound effect plays, the door opens, I can walk through. So this is a great example of, you can hear the control station or the button I'm interacting with plays two different sounds, as well as the door plays two different sounds. All right. And then lastly, I have an example that I had made a while back. This was before ProBuilder was included in our class and was free. So this was made out of level blocking meshes, which are a bit out of date now, but the overall concepts and design here are still great. And hopefully things like this can inspire you to take what you've learned here about trigger volumes and with the animation states and to create some type of actual puzzle or interactions and some setups in your level. So what I've created here at my control station, I walk up to the button and I try and interact, and you can hear that negative sounding feedback. Basically communicating to the player, I can't interact just yet. Something's locked. So I have this sign over here as a clue, this should be trigger volumes 101. So if I flip this first switch and the second switch, or the last switch on the end, that opens up that button. So I pretty much just went from the locked state into unlocking, and now the door is in idle closed, right? So now I'm entering that 4-cycle loop. So really all this is two additional states from what you're going to be creating and checking for the values of these 3 switches right here. All right, so now I can walk up to my button, and you'll notice that the light is actually pulsating. If you look at against the back of the player, see how that light is animating. So just in my idle state, I have the light's range and intensity animating on a sine curve, right? So over time. So as the button's there, it's just, again, another way to give the player feedback that this is something that they can interact with and catch the player's attention. So now when I interact, you can see the button turns green. This blue piece here starts animating. The gears turn. The door opens up. Now it stays open, and I can walk through the other side and interact again and close it. All right, so that blue piece over there, that little thing, can just be a placeholder. Once I have that mesh animated, I can just turn off the mesh renderer and add in a particle effect. That was meant to be some type of communication of electricity or something to show that this is currently powered on, which we can then replace the visual of it later. All right, but hopefully this just inspires you to come up with your own entryway, and I'm excited to see what you come up with. If you have any questions about what's possible or what you are allowed to do, please feel free to reach out to myself, Andrew O'Connor, or your instructor.